Hello, this is News, Views and Brews with Tonya. Hi, I'm Tonya. I have just been drinking freezing cold water with ice cubes because it is too hot for anything else. My goodness, it's been about 31 degrees inside our flat. It is ridiculous. Just incredibly melty. I hope whoever's listening, wherever you are, I hope it is much, much cooler. So there isn't anything specific that I wanted to, has popped out to me as like an interesting story. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things going on, as always. But yeah, there's nothing specific that has come to mind for me for today's podcast. So I just want to be honest about that. So really, I think the main thing I'm going to be just chatting about is Baldur's Gate 3. It is a video game that you can get on PlayStation 5 and on PC via Steam. Don't know if it's for Xbox. I don't believe it is because they are currently working on the multiplayer or the local co-op part of the game, and so it'll be out soon, I believe. But I just want to talk about it because I am a big TTRPG nerd. I am a dungeon master and a player for Dungeons & Dragons 5e. I've also played a little bit of Warhammer Age of Sigmar TTRPG game. And yeah, so, and I think there's been like one or two others that I think I've played, but not coming to my mind just this second. So yeah, when Baldur's Gate 3 came out, I was like, I want it so much, but we only have like a mid-range laptop. So trying to work out the best settings hasn't been easy. I do have a laptop crashing, but I've managed to get it on a slightly higher setting where it's still a bit laggy, but it looks a little bit better than the lower settings I had it on. And it managed to run for like 2 hours. I was constantly saving just in case. And yeah, so that's not too bad. I am currently playing a character from my old my wife's game, which was Horde of the Dragon Queen, where from Adventure League D&D 5e, and she is a red dragonborn. Originally she was a fighter called Abraxia, and then for my wife's Descent into Avernus game, I recreated her to be a paladin. And she was badass. She was a chunky girl. She was always giving compliments to everyone. You know, she was very, very sweet and voluptuous and just a badass fighter. And yeah, so I've recreated her for Baldur's Gate 3 and I'm having a blast. I'm not going to go into spoilers or anything, but I just want to say, like, it's absolutely gorgeous. This game, even on like the lowest graphics, it's still like immense, and it took me about 18 hours to even download the game. My poor laptop has been working really, really hard, and definitely paid off. And yeah, it'd be nice one day to get like a proper tower like I used to have, and you know, be able to at least update, you know, graphics cards and memory and all the bits and bobs inside the computer, but alas, they can't really do that right now, so use what you got. I was just thinking, like, it is interesting when you're looking at games now. I mean, remember like original PlayStation games where you had that little blocky like floppy disk memory card that you would insert, and it would hold in so many different game saves, you know, and if the, you know, PlayStation or console wasn't working properly, you just blow into whatever ports and that you could, right? You can't do that nowadays. You probably damage it just by the breeze of your mouth. But I was just thinking, like, how much bigger games are, and I do kind of find it interesting now, because if you look, for those that are like into video games and that, if you look into like how much storage a PlayStation has nowadays, or Xbox, like, it's quite a lot. But when you look at certain games that you want to play, that's like almost all your storage is being used up. You know, it's crazy now. I mean, unless you're getting like an indie game or, you know, an older game, chances are you're not really going to have a lot of space left over on the hard drive. You know, so yeah, I find that very interesting, with just the difference from back in like the 90s till now, just how much games take up space, you know. But also, like, looking at the graphics, if it's multiplayer, if it's online. I think my only grievance with, like, video games, like is my word today, I'm sorry. But with video games nowadays, it's really hard to get a game that isn't only one player and isn't only, like, multiplayer online. You know, I mean, that was something that I've always enjoyed with board games and video games, just being able to sit on the sofa, you know, grab a console, your friend grabs a console, and you just play. And it is really tough to find games that are like AAA and, you know, all these like really high-end games. And being able to get a game to do that, a lot of games are just solo player, or you can play online, but it's only online. Alright, so that's tricky. You know, I mean, we had the Nintendo Switch a while ago, and I was like, oh yes, you know, me being a little bit basic, I'll accept it for wanting to play Animal Crossing New Horizons, and the game was so empty because you have to pay on Nintendo Switch to access online multiplayer. So I had a few friends who was playing it and streaming it on Twitch, and I'm like, I can't do that, and I can't visit people, and I can't give gifts and receive gifts, and I can't travel to different islands. And so if there's certain games that need multiplayer, including, for example, Destiny 2, the game can feel so much more hollow than it's meant to be. And then also, like, an issue I had with Destiny 2 was, like, you have the main game for free, but you either need to have people to complete certain sections, which, okay. However, you do have other areas that you can't do unless you have got like a DLC, or you have the paid subscription and this and that, and everything is just so expensive. You know, if you're living on a budget but you're into games and technology, it can be really a struggle to feel like you're living and not just surviving. You know, when you've got, you know, you're trying to cut down and go to the cinema, so then you have like Netflix, which is in the long run cheaper, but then if you're into Star Trek, everything's going towards on the Paramount streaming service, so it's trying to work out, well, what can I use on this service, to what shows and movies are moving to a different one, and do I want to buy the other service? And yeah, it's very, very tricky to work out and manage, especially again when you're on a budget. And I do think I would like to see video games in the future take into consideration that not everyone has the best console platform, you know, all those different things. I would very much like it that, you know, for example, Baldur's Gate 3 is incredible, but even on our mid-range, couple of years old now laptop, it really, really struggles. And I think it would be nice, and I think they would make a profit from it, because more people would be able to do this. But if they made like a Baldur's Gate 3 Lite edition, so the same game, still decent graphics, you know, but far less heavy, and obviously not going to be as incredible with the graphics, but still like playable and, you know, less jagged and laggy. So I think more people would then buy it. Well, then maybe they wouldn't, because they want people to buy the best computer to run the best games, so in the end you're forking out more money, aren't you? But I mean, this is why I like certain consoles that had like excuse me, real-time brain spasm, sorry. Backward compatibility. I will get there in the end. Yes, this is a very relaxed podcast episode today. So yes, I really like consoles that allow backward compatibility. I do feel like it's a bit greedy that you buy a console and you can play these games on it, but then, you know, you have old games and you want to play them as well, and then you get certain consoles that are like, nope, we don't accept those anymore. And that's worse, I feel, if those old games aren't in their store. You know, that would be really nice to be, okay, I can get rid of this old game that I have because I can get it elsewhere. So yes, so that has been me on News, Views and Brews with Tonya, and thank you for listening to me ramble. Bye.